We're good. Okay, we're here, yeah. So, Mr. Tim Evers, Ryan Berg here at Greenlee headquarters in Rockford, Illinois. Going to be going through a little bit of Instagram Live. We'll get that out of the way.
What is this Instagram you speak of?
The Instagram is how we refer to it. So really what we're going to be going over is one of our favorite product lines here. It's my favorite. I get to work on this product line all day. It's the Greenlee Gator battery hydraulic tools line of crimping and cutting tools. Just a little bit of background on this. We get a lot of questions on how these tools work and how to facilitate these tools, how to keep them up and running, which is really, really important within our industry. Obviously from an electrical contractor perspective, and really importantly from a utility perspective to make sure the lights stay on.
Usually we go with how they run as magic.
Yes, yeah, they're special. Just like my friend Tim. Anyway, a little bit of background on Gator. Gator we celebrated our 25th anniversary of Gator tools last year. So we're moving into our second decade of having battery hydraulic tools. Greenlee kind of set the bar back in the mid 90s with one of the first designs for battery hydraulic tools overall. We came up with a suitcase style tool that kind of resembled the Gator. It kind of had a belly on the bottom of it, and so that's how the name came about back in 1995. And then we ultimately got together with our sister company Klauke over in Germany. All of our tools, our battery hydraulic tools, are made in Germany at the Klauke facility. We are one and the same. They are Greenlee, we are Klauke type thing. But ever since then, we've been coming up with a lot of different designs in terms of facilitating the electrical industry, crimping, cutting, punching. We were the first, actually, to introduce what we call the candlestick configuration of tool. This is a red tool. You can see it says Fairmont Gator on it. It's one of our old trade names that we used to have. This guy is from the early 2000s when the inline tool was actually created. And so Greenlee did create that tool back in 95. And I think that's when Tim, you were in your 10th year at Greenlee by then?
Yeah, I've been here, No, I've been here 20.
Okay. So. But we'll take a step back. So speaking of Tim, Tim and I have been working together for the last 10 years. Tim works over on the technical side. I learned everything I know about Gator tools from this guy. And ultimately, Tim, maybe you can give a little bit of background about who you are and what you do here.
Sure. So my name's Tim Evers, and this microphone and I have been battling from the beginning, so bear with me. So I've been with Greenlee for 20 years. Altogether, I've been around the tools for 33 years prior to my Greenlee life. I was in the service center working on the tools, came to Greenlee 20 years ago, been in tech support the entire time. And in tech support, we are fielding your phone calls, your emails, providing service instruction. Also had a hand in creating the in-house service center that is running today. So that is how long I've been here and kind of what I do. So
awesome. So you're kind of piggybacking on what you just said. Some of the first things that when I first came to Greenlee about 10 years ago, sat down with Tim, and Tim started walking through the tools and how they work. And one of the biggest things, probably if not the biggest thing that these tools do provide is uptime. And ultimately everybody wants to keep on working, everybody wants to have the tools in their hand, and they're not necessarily sitting in a repair facility. So it's our objective to continuously make these tools better. So not just better from a repair and serviceability perspective, but also adding safety applications to the tools and adding technology into the tools to make them go farther. Ultimately, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we did bring a stripped down version of our most popular tool, which is the EK425. Tim, one of the questions we always get is, how easy are these tools to work on? And it seems kind of like do you really want the answer?
All right, so we're going to preface that question. How easy are the tools to work on? For me, for our service center, we do it every day, so they're relatively easy. I have to qualify that. I don't know who's on the other side of this camera. I don't even know if you can make toast. So, I mean...
I have trouble with that.
So, is Ryan working on it? I would question that ability.
It's a good analogy.
But anyway, so with training, they are easy to work on. Part of the reason that they're easy to work on is that if this tool obviously does not have the housing on it, you see that. So we'll kind of do this. This is what would be inside the housing. The thing about it is, if you look at this version or this version or any of the inline tools, inside those housings, there's a similar or a like drive assembly with the motor and the gearbox. There's a similar pump housing assembly, reservoir. Now granted, what makes it different are all the different heads that are attached on there, but the nice thing is that inside the guts of the tool is the same between all of the inlines. So really, once you learn one, you have a good handle on all of those inline tools. That also allows for shared parts in a lot of cases, so that reduces your inventory. And that holds true then also for when you get into the pistol grip style tools. That's an older one. When I refer to pistol grip, I mean something like this. So that's a similar concept where inside this plastic housing, it's basically the same between the models. So it makes it easier to learn, easier to work on, less parts to keep around. Winds up being a big benefit from the service standpoint.
Right. And then the other part about that, Tim, is when they do need to come back into us to service them, it makes our turnaround time that much faster, because ultimately we're working with the same parts on virtually every inline tool, virtually every pistol tool. Like Tim said, the only variant is the working end of the tool, which would be up towards the top.
So going back though to the original question, are they easy to work on? I would say we get that question. How hard would it be to put a seal kit in? How hard would it be to change the housing? One of the things that will come up is the warranty on these tools. I would say if the tool is within warranty and something goes wrong with it, get it repaired under warranty. Don't go into the tool, because if it's under warranty, you're going to void the warranty by going into it. If it's under warranty, or if you wish to have it serviced here in Rockford at the service center, you can go online under service and support, click on request a tool repair, get a repair number before you send that tool in, so we know what it is when it arrives and we can handle it here. As far as the components on here, I would say as far as serviceability in the field, I would say you're looking at, maybe changing housings out or changing blades out on a cutter or something like that. But once you get into the pump body and that, probably best off to leave that to the service center.
Absolutely.
So Tim, I think you just touched on something really important. So can we talk about the warranty on these tools?
Yeah, I'll start off. Help me out if I need it here. So overall, what we do have on these tools is a 7-year warranty. And we're really proud of that. And we got to that 7-year warranty by doing a lot of number crunching and a lot of analyzing of how these tools are faring in the marketplace. Not just through what comes back through Tim's department over at our service center, but we also went to end users that do a lot of repair on their own. And we gather that information back, and it ultimately does two things for us. It allows us to provide a warranty that we feel really comfortable in offering, number one. And then number two, we get that information back from all of these locations, and we start to make the tool better. So we start to continuously improve the quality of these tools. So you can see, going back from the very beginning as to how this tool started and ultimately where it ended up, there's quite a bit of difference over I would say the last 15 years between when these tools came out. The vent holes are covered up, don't need them in terms of how these motors run. We've conformally coated circuit boards, we've increased the capacity of the orbital reservoir. So that's all from feedback that we get from the field and how these tools are used. So 7 years on software, so this tool is heavily reliant on software, assembly, materials, workmanship, yeah. So 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. So can we go over some tool specifics? So like what sizes do they crimp and cut up to?
Sure. So that's one of the beauties.
You take it, I'll run to the wall.
All right. So the primary categories that we have with Gator, the crimping, the cutting, and then we do have punching as well. And that really relates back to all of the knockouts that Greenlee's historically been known for. But overall, we can go from basically the gauge of wire number 8, number 6, number 8, right around that range, all the way up to 1550.
Correct. Yeah.
So we have 4-ton tools, 6-ton tools, 12-ton, and then we have 15 from a crimping perspective. Obviously,
in the battery tool platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously we have all sorts of hand tools and ratchet style tools that would be available from a manual perspective or a low pressure hydraulic perspective. But again, the number one tool that is going to be seen out in the industry is typically going to be this inline candlestick, which we call a 425 or a 628. This is going to be what is going to be used in terms of most electrical contractor applications, so indoor applications, sub 600, sub 480 volt. And then in the utility side of the business, this is by far the number one selling tool that we have, and it's predominantly used for service drop applications. So basically tapping off of a distribution line over to a feeder for a house or industrial complex or commercial complex.
And the nice thing is you can swap the jaw out on it so you can get into your color-coded lugs and splices, go from number 8 up to 600 on copper. 300, I believe it is, if I remember correctly, on aluminum. So extremely versatile tool with that. But that's probably one of the bigger questions we get in technical support is with all those variety of crimpers out there, how do you decide what is the right tool for me? And really it boils down to when that question's asked, we have to ask questions back of what you're actually crimping. What are you actually going to be doing with the tool? And that steers us towards what tonnage or what force of tool may be required to do the job that you do every day. So,
absolutely. And then on the other side of that is the cutting application. The 425 does have a cutting head that can be applied to it up to 600 copper and aluminum. But it also has a really important aspect for battery hydraulic tools. We deal with a lot of hard metals. When we're talking about working within the industry, specifically within the utility industry, we see a lot of ACSR, aluminum conductor steel reinforced, we see guy wire, we see ground rods, a lot of that. So one of the things we're really proud of with the Gator line is its applications with hard metal. So we have a variety of different tools that go up to, I believe, 1590 for our largest ACSR capacity, and then obviously we have replaceable blade sets that can go into our 425, which I believe goes up to 336.
correct.
Yeah.
So Ryan, that's actually a really good point. That leads me into a question here. So if someone's blades are getting dull, can they replace them in the field?
You want to take the first part?
Absolutely. Either, depending on the tool model, it is either as simple as changing out the inserts, such as on this tool, or on the cutter jaws that are used on the 425 and the 628. You can just remove those 2 bolts, and there's inserts in there that you can swap out. There's a kit part number for the blades. If it is more of a, let's just go big, go home. So if it is a cutter where the blades are mounted on the jaws themselves, then it would be a matter of actually replacing this whole jaw. Every now and then we get asked, can I sharpen the blades? To what I would say on that is if you have minor dings, if there's dulling over time from multiple cuts, you could get away with sharpening them. The key there is maintain that profile of that blade as it's going down there. Match that. If you change that radically, you're going to change the amount of force it takes to make a cut. You're going to change the efficiency or operation of the cutter. So it can be done. The blades aren't always the least expensive thing on the tool, so maybe you want to take some care on them, and there is some maintenance there that you can do to prolong your life.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. So it seems like a lot of people are wondering about Bluetooth these days. So why do we have the Bluetooth, and what are the benefits of it?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I can actually pull this circuit board off of this tool that we gutted, and just kind of talk about it a little bit. The biggest thing, to answer this very succinctly, is it gives us possibility. So when we first were working on our latest generation of tools, which came out in 2017, we call them our next gen tools. We wanted to make sure that, as technology changes a lot faster than we do in terms of our generation of tools. And that's just not specific to Greenlee or Gator, but that's just the way it is. Tools are expected to last up to 5 to 7 to 10 years. Over the course of those years, a lot of technology is going to change. So what we wanted to do with this next generation of tools is ultimately give them the capacity to adjust or to be adaptable to new needs. So one of the things that are, just as an example, one of the things that our tools do is we have the ability to activate a remote control mechanism, for instance with a cutter, when you don't want to have a user in the field of usage. So prospectively within the utility industries, and you're going to be replacing or terminating some primary cables that you can't get a reading of. But overall, that Bluetooth mechanism, it does a lot of different things. It really kind of equips us for how the industry changes. It lets us do a wide variety, as well as get a lot of information back.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives the user a lot of information about the cycle times, it gives them their firmware updates, it gives them a real-time view as to how this tool is building pressure. So it really equips us for what may come next. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from the field as to what to include, both from a safety perspective and an efficiency perspective as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So really quick, we have a question coming in. Someone is wondering if we have a tutorial to change the O-ring.
O-ring on help me out, which model?
So feel free to comment which model of that O-ring.
So just in general, when you're working with O-rings, it'd probably be up there with the wiper. Let's just use that as an example.
My guess. So is there a tutorial? There will be a proposing that.
Yeah, we're gonna be working on that
there's some
tomorrow.
service. Yeah.
First thing tomorrow.
We'll just do it today.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me get some tools. I'll be right back. There eventually will be online service modules for installing seals, things like that. Right now, a tutorial, I would say give tech support a call. We can walk through it. That's certainly no problem. Give myself a call. There's 3 of us in tech support. We can walk you through it.
Yeah, and feel free to send us a DM also on our page, and we can touch base on that as well. So really quick, we also have a comment from a JC lineman. He says he works for a major utility contractor, and he wants to talk. So we should get in touch with him in the future, but
Cool.
Thumbs up. All right, and then any technical support to help repair the leaking?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things to preface that. So we just actually got done shooting about 24 videos on a video for each one of the tools. So it walks through the features of the tool, how the tool works, how the information center on the back of the tool, what information that gives you. And then ultimately, like Tim was saying, that we've done these in the past, how to take care of your tools to eliminate, or not eliminate, or to prolong the life of the seals that are inside the tool.
I was going to say that your question about the leaking also, if it's sort of like one of those, if we back up a little bit before that, perhaps there's care and maintenance things that we can talk about to help prevent that leaking in the first place.
Yeah.
We get that question a lot. Is there any preventive maintenance we can do to help out with the tool? I'm just going to start off by saying, let's be real. We know linemen are just the most tender, loving, caring people with their equipment.
True, but we love them.
Now that's not, so that's to say, we know you have a hard job to do,
Yeah.
and the elements that you work in, we try to design the tool the best we can to withstand those elements. But there are kind of conflicting forces there between dirt and life of a tool compared to, that tool lasting forever. So we work hard to improve that. But at some time, there may come a time where the tool needs to be serviced.
Right.
I would say if you can take a little time, wipe the tool off, try and clean the head of the tool off from where the piston comes out of the tool. Also, this time of year when it's also toasty warm outside, people call and say, the tool doesn't want to seem to work that well in this frigid cold weather.
Right.
Hell, I don't want to work that well in this frigid cold weather.
You don't work that well.
Right? No, I don't. I pretty much hibernate and shut down.
I think you're really getting to 2 points though. The 2 points are really these tools are actuated by hydraulic pressure. So you do have hydraulic oil in all of these tools. So ultimately, Tim made some really good points. All hydraulic tools at some point of their life are going to leak a little bit of oil. The best thing that you can do is to proactively fight that. And fighting it by taking some simple measures to try to keep these tools out of the dirt. I know that a lot of times that's not possible. But the biggest thing is try to preventatively maintain them a little bit. But ultimately, hydraulic tools, you will get a leak at some point. We're just being honest, like Tim was saying.
Mm-hmm.
These are used in some pretty rough conditions. The best thing that we can do is continuously try to modify and continuously improve the quality of these. And you'll see that with the newest generation of tools that we came out with in 2017. Significant step forward. I mean, just a quick point here. When these tools were actually developed, and just being real honest, when these tools were developed, they were developed for the electrical contractor application. So not meaning that there's any less of a duty there, but they're predominantly used indoors. So over the course of the time that these tools were in the field, we kept on gathering information, gathering input, just like the input that we got there, and we started to really take them up to those tougher standards, which are the utility.
I remember very early on when customers were feeding, utility customers were coming back saying, "Hey, this thing's cutting out around energized lines," and we go to Klauka and say, "We need to make this sort of work around energized lines," and pretty much their feedback to that was, "Who would do such a crazy thing? Why would you be around an energized line to begin with?"
Right.
So there was in the very, very early days, there was some I don't know, differences in what
experimentation,
Yeah.
is what we call it. Kind of a cool point. This is kind of a neat way that these tools work. So they do work around energized lines. We take them up to 75 kV every time that we put a tool into service, just to see what they're going to do. And obviously, we want to have a threshold to keep these tools running in those applications. But it's funny, like we do have some competitors that come into the market, and it's just we can kind of predict, from our experience, what they're going to run into as you go through this. So it's not a Greenlee specific thing. It does take a little bit of experience. And that 25 years has given us a lot of experience on how to optimize these tools when working in these tough conditions. So that was a really good question about the seals that just kind of took us all over.
That was the original question. That's right.
Well, and Tim, I think you touched on something important as well when you started talking about energized environments. So a common question we're seeing is a lot of people are new to our orange line. What is the difference between the green and the orange?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
No. It's your baby.
So we know that obviously we just talked about it. These tools are used in energized environments, whether you admit that or not. They are used in energized environments, whether you're an electrician or more predominantly when you're working in the utility field. You may not be working on a live circuit, but you are certainly working in the area of something being energized. So what we did in our constant, striving forward to introduce safety into our tools, introduce a tool that can be used in different environments. One of the things that we did is we started toying around with how to basically defer voltage from getting from the point of the tool down to the user's hand.
So you got the work end and the
Exactly.
operating end essentially, and how do you keep those separated?
Right. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to impede voltage from reaching my hand. And it may not be, obviously, it may not be working on a live line, but it may be working in proximity to live components. And that may be whether you're working on machinery, it may be whether you're going into a pad mount transformer or, you know, a fuse box.
Yeah.
So what we did is we created this mechanism. We call it our tri-barrier. And what it does, it works very similarly to how insulated hand tools work. So we're trying to impede up to 10,000 volts. So we need to get this tool to basically block 10,000 volts from here to here. And it doesn't have a 10,000 volt rating, but we need to go to 10,000 volts to get a 1,000 volt rating, just like a hand tool would. And we do that kind of creatively. All of our tools use dielectric hydraulic oil coming into our facility and out of our facility. And then we went through and we actually replaced some of the componentry that is associated with how this tool works. So this is the cylinder for this tool. It's the same cylinder, we can just take it apart real quick. It's the same cylinder that goes in this tool. So we introduced some new componentry and parts that can stop voltage from basically getting from this portion of the tool to that portion. And we basically created a maze for voltage to get lost in. So there's a creepage distance that is associated with the 10,000 volt rating that we need to basically make sure that we separate conductive materials. And we did that through this new design. So yeah, this tool, every one of the tools goes through a 10,000 volt rating test before they go out to the field. This is one of our brand new product launches. It came out about 12 months ago, and we're really, really interested to see how this tool is going to be working within the industry as we go forward.
Awesome. So another question we have is, someone wants some insider knowledge here. What other safety-oriented products are we working on right now?
One of the big ones, and Tim, we worked on this when we first started. We've been working on this for a while, probably about 4 years.
Yeah.
But we touched on Bluetooth a little bit, and we touched on that remote application. So the remote application is a big deal for basically separating the user from the tool, but still having that communication back and forth between the tool. And what we've done is we've created a series of remote control tools, and it's all predicated by how we can use technology.
Nice job, Tim.
To actuate the tools. So we have remote controls that work with all of our remote tools. We're going to have more coming. We're going to have more coming in May, and then we're also going to have some more coming in the summer from that perspective. One of the other really cool things that we did, and it may be very, very simplistic, safety moment here, before handling any of these tools, I'm going to make sure that our friends over at Nikita's battery is not affixed to the bottom of the tool. So when I change anything out on the top of this head, make sure that battery is off the tool. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to actuate this tool, and this came from the field. And this is, okay, so I was just pushing that tool to close that jaw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the personality of this tool over to a safety mechanism that we put on the tool. We had a customer call in and ultimately had an accident where a tool was in a bucket and they leaned forward and they actuated the tool just by pulling on the trigger, just like you normally would for a drill or for anything else. But they asked us to do something with these tools to kind of mitigate that potentially from happening. So what we did is we changed the personality. So I'm pulling down on the trigger and ultimately nothing's happening. But if I hit that trigger within, I think it's 3/4 of a second.
Click.
Hit it once, hit it twice. So overall, it's a double-click mechanism. It's on every one of our tools. You can change that profile on the back of the tool. You can change it with your phone as well, with our iPlus app.
All right, awesome. So that looks like that's it for questions today. Thank you, Ryan and Tim, and everyone else who joined. So if we didn't get to your question or you have any other questions, this is going to go to our timeline. So please feel free to comment with any other questions there. All right, awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.